down to it. All right, the test will cover. The test will cover, and let me make sure I've got this right. The test will cover chapters 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. All right, this is on page 2 of chapter 5. Know about the Minoans. Know that the Minoans were the sea island people of Crete. Ma'am? Minoans. 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 They were the sea people, they were the island people of Crete and other islands of the Mediterranean. Let's see. Know about the island of Thera, Thera, the island of Thera, that when it erupted, it brought to an end the Minoan civilization. It's also blamed for the plagues in Egypt that the Bible talks about, and destruction all across the Middle East. Destruction of the island of Thera. Okay. Okay, know that Minoan frescoes, Frescoes, Minoan frescoes. Okay, Frescoes, Minoan frescoes, famously show happy scenes and bull dancing. Bull dancing. That's what the faculty here does with the administration. But anyway, bull dancing. Bull dancing. And know who Sir Arthur Evans was? Sir Arthur Evans. He was the archaeologist who rediscovered the lost Minoan civilization. Know who the Mycenaeans were? Mycenaean. Mycenaean. The Mycenaeans were. And these were the pirate, raiders, traders, the first Greeks. They were the first Greeks. And they're the Greeks in the Iliad, and that's Iliad, the Iliad, and the Odyssey, Odyss. It's not quite right. Iliad, Iliad, and Odyssey is Odyssey. Okay. And know that it is the Iliad, Iliad. It is the Iliad that some scholars argue was the beginning of Western learning, of putting things in books, of spreading stories and ideas by books. By books. Okay, know about the Greek Dark Ages. Traditionally, the Greek Dark Ages are said to have lasted some 400 years after the Iliad, but modern scholarship suggests it may have only been 40 years. It may have only been 40 years. Or a theory would be a better way of putting it. A theory has it that the Greek Dark Ages were only 40 years, not 400. Know that Greece was divided into more than 1,000 city-states called polis, P-O-L-I-S. And it's from polis that we get words like politics and police. No, do I? P-O-L-I-S. All right, know who Hesiod was? H-E-S-I-O-D, Hesiod. Know that he wrote the book Works and Days, which is about hard work, moderation, justice for everyone. Know that the Greek attempts to create a government fair for all of its citizens was the beginning of what we today call democracy. Democracy, the science of the people. Know what the Greeks strived for, which was a perfect mind and a perfect body with a perfect soul and virtues. Perfect mind and a perfect body with perfect virtues. Know about Sparta, S-P-A-R-T-A, Sparta. Know that Sparta had 2 kings, various councils and assemblies. Why? And that's the answer to your question. Why? And the reason was to prevent Sparta from going to war and to prevent anything from ever changing in Sparta. Know what Zoroastrianism is? Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism, which is the belief that the world around us is evil and corrupt, but we want our souls to rise above it to the greater good. All right, know that the Persians love gardening. The Persians love gardening, and they believed heaven was a garden. And they call this garden paradise, from which we get the words parade. Where the Vikings get Valhalla, V-A-L-H-A-L-L-A, and where the Arabs also get their vision of heaven and paradise.
What page is this?
This should be about page 11. That should be on page 11 or the bottom of page 10. On E on that same page, more or less. Know about the great temple that Athens built. It's now in ruins, but you can see what it looked like in Nashville. It celebrated the victory over the Persians, and that was the Parthenon. And the Parthenon is spelled P-A-R-T-H-A-N-O-N. Know that the Spartans will forever be remembered as heroes for making their stand at Thermopylae, T-H-E-R-M-O-P-Y-L-A-E, Thermopylae. Thermopylae, Thermopylae. Okay, know about the Peloponnesian War. Peloponnesian, Peloponnesian. The Peloponnesian War. No, it was fought between Athens and Sparta. It was fought between Athens and Sparta. All right, know about Alexander the Great. Know about Alexander the Great. This should be page 13B. But know about Alexander the Great. Number 1 under Alexander the Great. He was a student of Aristotle, Aristotle, student of Aristotle. And the reason that he did not leave his empire to anyone is that he said that empires come and go, only cultures survived. And so the goal of building his empire was to spread through different cultures that he encountered around, among them, all of them, to merge them all together. All right, know about the Great Library at Alexandria, Alexandria, the Great Library at Alexandria, which in its day had the greatest collection of books and learning on earth. Our modern universities are modeled after the Museum of the Library of Alexandria. Okay. All right, on page 16 or thereabouts, B, 16B on the Greeks. Know how a Greek hero wins? And it's not because he's strong and hunky, and it's not because he believes in Greek values, but because he uses his brain. The Greek hero always wins in the Greek stories because he uses his brain. He outsmarts his foe, or he figures out a way around the problem. Okay, this is sort of scattered about here, and I can't find it specifically, so instead of circling it on your paper, just write it down. Know that you could be a great Greek thinker, even if you were a slave, you came from an obscure place, and even if you were a woman. And the Greeks held women only in contempt, but they would respect a woman if she had a great mind, a great mind. Know about Thales. Thales, 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 Thales. Know about him. He started the great golden age by saying, know thyself, know thyself. Know about Pythagoras, Pythagoras, Pythagoras actually, Pythagoras. Know what he and his cult studied? And they studied mathematics. They said if you understood mathematics, you understood everything. Know who the great Greek doctor was. The great Greek doctor was. And this was Hippocrates, Hippocrates. Hippocrates, Hippocrates, and it's from him that we get the Hippocratic Oath is named, that the Hippocratic Oath is named.
Can you spell that one more time?
Do what?
Can you spell that one more time?
Sure. This is on page 18G. Hippocrates. Hippocrates. All right, know that Herodotus, Herodotus, wrote about the differences in cultures, but know that the real father of history was Thucydides. And Thucydides, this should be about the bottom of page 18 or top of page 19. Thucydides is spelled Thucydides. Thucydides. To what?
He was the father of what?
History. Because Thucydides doesn't use chance or the gods, and he only puts down what he thinks is true.
What was his name again?
To what, ma'am?
What was his name again?
Thucydides. Thucydides. His statue stands in front of our National Archives as he tells us to study the past. Okay. All right, on the next page, under technology, a couple of Greeks worth knowing. Know who Heron of Alexandria was, Heron, Heron of Alexandria. He built robots, he built the world's first steam engine, and other technological marvels, also the first vending machine. But this was Heron of Alexandria. Know about Archimedes of Syracuse, Archimedes, Archimedes of Syracuse. And he was the pioneer engineer and physicist who built massive machines to defend his city against the Romans. Know what Doric, D-O-R-I-C, Ionic, I-O-N-I-C, and Corinthian, C-O-R-I-N-T-H-I-A-N-R? And these are styles of Greek columns that hold up roofs. Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian, C-O-R-I-N-T-H-I-A-N. On number 4 on page, what should be around page 20, and also under technology, know that the Greeks the Greeks did not believe in using perfect straight lines, perfectly level surfaces, or 90-degree angles, because they said no such thing exists in the real world, so to try to make them artificially was a blasphemy. A blasphemy against nature. Here's the Parthenon, P-A-R-T-H-E-N-O-N, which is today a ruin, but they're building it back. Okay, know about Leucippus and Democritus. Leucippus, L-E-U-C-I-P-P-U-S, Democritus, D-E-M-O-C-R-I-T-U-S. And what did they explore? They explored what everything is made of, and they said that all things are made of a common substance that they call atomus. From that we get the word atom. Know about Claudius Ptolemy. Ptolemy is spelled P-T-O-L-E-M-Y. Guy's first name was Claudius, C-L-A-U-D-I-U-S, P-T-O-L-E-M-Y, of Alexandria. He discovered that the Nile River begins with the mountains of the moon, And because he believed the world was 18,000 miles around the middle and that Asia was much closer than it was, this persuaded Christopher Columbus to sail and accidentally stumble into America when he was looking for Asia. But this was Claudius Ptolemy, the geographer. All right, in number L down there, know what a sophist is. A sophist, S-O-P-H-I-S-T. A sophist is someone who teaches you to learn and think. Teaches you to learn and think.
Can you spell that one more time?
S-O-P-H-I-S-T-S, a sophist. Someone who teaches you to learn and think. Okay. Know about Socrates of Athens, S-O-C-R-A-T-E-S, Socrates, who took poison rather than betray his ideals. Know that he was the teacher of Plato, P-L-A-T-O. Know that Plato created an institution of all learning called the Academy. The Academy was Plato's institution of all learning. And he said to be careful about your senses because your senses can be deceived. Better to go with logic and your heart. Better to go with logic in your heart. Know about Plato's student, Aristotle. Know that Aristotle taught to go with your senses because that's all we've got. He said everything else is too subjective. So he said to go with your heart, and know that he was the teacher of Alexander the Great.
Aristotle was.
Do what?
Aristotle was the teacher.
Yeah, Aristotle was the student of Plato, and he was the teacher of Alexander the Great. Know what, from the next page, know what a Stoic is? Know what a Stoic is? And the Stoics believe that we are all victims of our fate. That is, our fate was decided before we were born, but we still should live every day trying to make the best of every day and trying to be the best person that we can. All right, on the next page, know about the Greeks and the plays. Know about the Greeks and their plays. Know that in a tragedy, the hero loses. In a comedy, the hero wins. To the Greeks, that was the difference. It had nothing to do with being funny. But in a tragedy, the hero loses. In a comedy, the hero wins. Okay, know about the Agora and the Symposium. Symposium is S-Y-M-P-O-S-I-U-M. Agora is H-E-O-R-A. The Agora and the Symposium. Agora was sort of an ancient Greek shopping mall, and a symposium was a place where you went to hear lectures, get drunk, and do prostitutes. And no, we don't have a symposium here on campus, should anybody be interested. Okay. Know that one of the biggest problems the Greeks had, this is about page 25C, is that Greece was not a united country until 1829. 1829. All right, moving on to chapter 6. Know who the Latinians were. L-A-T-I-N-I-U-M-S. L-A-T-I-N-I-U-M-S. Know who the Latinians were? And the Latinians were the Romans. That's what they call themselves. It's from that we get the word Latin. We get the word Latin. Okay, Know why we know so much about the Etruscans? And that's because of their tombs. They believed in burying you with all your grave goods, all your goods, so that you could continue the party in the next world. And know why the Romans and the Greeks considered the Etruscans to be obscene, and that's because they showed respect for women. Know who Servilius Tullus was. Survillus. Last name is Tullus. Tullis. First name Servillus. Second name, last name Tullis. Servilius Tullus. And he was the one who laid out the rules for the Latinians that bound them together as a people.
What number is this?
This should be on the second page under B, character of the Roman culture, under 1. Okay, about page 4 on number 3, Roman society was also divided into 4 groups. Okay, know at least the 3 groups of citizens, and the 3 groups of citizens were the patricians, who served in the Senate, and they're at the top, the patricians. Then you had the patrician is spelled Patrician. The middle class, which was called the equestrians, and equestrian is spelled Equestrians. 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 And at the bottom of the citizens were the plebeians. And the plebeians are spelled Plebeieins. Plebeieins. Okay. All right. Okay, going further down under 4, Roman state was a religion. Roman state was a religion. Okay. Know how the Romans viewed the world, and this was depicted in their frescoes in their homes. How did the Romans depict the world? As prey and predator, rapist and raped. You can imagine where the Romans believed themselves to be in that. Know on E on the next page under 5, Roman attitudes told in stories and metaphor. Note the Romans were a highly superstitious people. They feared prophecies, oracles, conspiracies. No, most of all, they feared whisper campaigns, people talking about them behind their backs. Conspiracies, in other words. Okay, under 5, Roman public loved mass entertainment. Know that they loved gladiator games, they loved chariot races, and they loved track and field events. Track and field events, throwing discuses and running and wrestling and things of that sort. Okay, know why, this is on the next page under C. Know how the Colosseum or Colosseum got its name. And Colosseum is spelled Colosseum. We pronounce it Colosseum. Colosseum, the Colosseum. Know how it got its name. And it got its name because of a giant golden statue of the Emperor Nero that stood outside of it. Officially, it was a Flavian amphitheater, but it was called the Colosseum because the statue next to it was called the Colosseum. Okay, on the next page, 5, the Roman numeral 5, which is a V. Roman numeral 5, which is a V. Know where gladiators get their name from, and that comes from the short sword that Roman soldiers carried, short Spanish sword called a gladius, Gladius, a gladius. Know what special punishment was reserved for you if you dared to rebel against Rome? And that's at the bottom of the page, Roman numeral 1, which is an I, lowercase letter I. But know what was done to you if you rebelled against Rome? You were crucified. You were crucified. Know about something else that the Romans gave the world that people enjoyed? This should be number 6 after that. And that was their baths, the Roman baths or spas. This was an all-day affair where you and your friends enjoyed the waters, the hot water, the cold water, the library, good food, good conversation, a nice massage, and getting covered in olive oil. But the Roman spas and baths. Know at the bottom of page 10, more or less, D, note the Roman army was always the smallest on earth for the number, compared to the number of people it had to protect. On G, know what every Roman conqueror wanted, or every Roman general wanted, and that was a triumph. And I'm not talking about the British racing car. I'm talking about having a chariot with 4 horses pull you at a big parade where your captives are forced before you, etc. All right, on page 12, A and B, know what the Punic Wars were, P-U-N-I-C. These were the wars with Carthage. These were the wars with Carthage. Comes from the Greek word for red. And well, in other words, it's a corruption of Phoenician. But know about the Punic Wars fought against Carthage. Fought against Carthage. About page, bottom page 13, top of page 14. Know who the Roman soldier, slave, gladiator was who led the great revolt against Rome? His name was Spartacus. Spartacus, S-P-A-R-T-A-C-U-S. S-P-A-R-T-A-C-U-S, Spartacus.
What? Led the revolt?
Yeah, he was a Roman soldier, slave, gladiator who led a revolt against Rome, one of the most famous revolts in history. Okay, what should be B at the bottom of page 14 or the top of page 15? Know what happened if you crossed the Roman Senate and they would have you killed and your head would be put in a sack and thrown in the river. This is where we get the word being sacked from, as in losing your job. To what? Okay.
That happened at what? That's what it
Yeah, that's,
is. If you cross the what, the Senate?
yeah, you get sacked, you lose your job. But in ancient Rome, you lost your head, you were dumped in the Tiber. In a sack, though. In a sack. All right, know who Julius Caesar was on the next page. Julius Caesar. He was a Roman general who conquered Gaul, and he wrote about this in his commentaries. Commoditus. Conquered Gaul. And he was murdered by the Roman Senate. He was murdered by the Roman Senate. Okay. All right, on page 17, buried at the end of G, know that when Mark Antony and Cleopatra took on Rome under Octavian, they were defeated at the Battle of Actium. And Actium is spelled A-C-T-I-U-M. Cleopatra is spelled C-L-E-O-P-A-T-R-A. But they were defeated in the naval battle of Actium, which left Octavian running the Roman Empire. Spell what? A-C-T-I-U-M. A-C-T-I-M-U. I-U-M. I-U-M. All right, know what the Pax Romana is. The first word is P-A-X. The last word is Romana, R-O-M-A-N-A, which means Roman peace. The Pax Romana. Know that it was the longest period of peace that Europe would ever know. And know who the great founder of the Roman Empire was, who brought reforms. The month of August is named for him. And that's Caesar Augustus, who was Octavian. Okay, a few pages over. This should be number 2. Know what amphora is? And let me get that here. A-M-P-H-O-R-A. Maybe you've got a picture of it in your study guides. A-M-P-H-O-R-A. And these were jars that the Romans used for carrying goods in their ships. Amphora. The amphora. Okay. All right, this should be page 22, but under the fall of Roman Empire,
Page is that? I see.
about page 22. Page 22. B, know that the decline of Rome was measured in metals. It was measured in metals. Rome had a golden age, Rome had a silver age, Rome had a copper age, Rome had an iron age. Know C, that the decline and fall of Rome began with their conquest of Carthage, with the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. That's where it became a land of greed. instead of a nation of ideals. Okay. On page 24, know about the Emperor Diocletian, Diocletian, Diocletian. Know that he tried to better run the Roman Empire by dividing it into 4 empires. Know about the Emperor Constantine, Constantine, that he moved the capital from Rome to this new city of Constantinople, where the empire could be better protected. Know at the bottom of the page, number 6, that if the Romans had conquered the Parthians, that's Parthians, or the Persians, the empire probably would have lasted much longer. And in fact, the Romans could have marched all the way to India, and who knows how much further than that. And on page 25, know what finally did in the Roman Empire. And as the people got tired of it, they just opened the gates and let the barbarians in. Okay, moving right along. Page 27B, where we're talking about the beginnings of Christianity. Know that Christianity has its beginnings in Judaism. 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 Christianity has its beginnings in Judaism. Okay, several pages over, on page 31C, the Apostle Paul. Know that Christianity as we know it all goes back to the teachings of Paul, the Apostle Paul. We practice Pauline Christianity in the West. And know about, let me find it here. Know, number C on page 34, know about Gnosticism. Gnosticism, Gnosticism, which is similar to Zoroastrianism, which is the idea the world around you is evil and corrupt, but with your heart you can see the good and rise above it.
So we're done.
Yeah. Gnosticism. comes from the Greek word gnostos, which means to know, which is where we get our word know, K-N-O-W, from. Okay. All right, on the last page, know that St. Augustine argues two things in here that become questions on your test. The first of these is that there is that the evil Roman Empire was created in order to spread Christian values. And after it had done that, it wasn't needed anymore. And then he goes on to say that there is nothing wrong with reading the pagan books of Plato and others who came before Christianity and Jesus. All right, there's a few things in this chapter that I seem to have missed. Know about the Council of Nicaea. And let me see if I can find it, because I don't want to try to spell it off the top of my head. Niceea. I think that's how it's spelled. Well, there's only one A on the end of it. But the Council of Nicaea, and it decided what books would be used in the New Testament. Well, that's close enough. You'll know it when you see it. But I think it's spelled Nicaea. Okay, it's Narcia. Narcia. And going back to the beginning of chapter 6. Okay. Okay, let me get it here. Okay, page 2 under B, character of the Roman Empire, Roman culture. Know what the commercium is? C-O-M-M-E-R-C-I-U-M, C-O-M-M-E-R-C-I-U-M. And the commercium is simply that any contract in any Latinium village is good in any other Latinium village. You couldn't tear up the contract because you moved to another village. A contract in one village held in all the villages. All right, moving to chapter 8. Moving on to chapter 8. page 1, number 2 at the bottom. Know that our legal system is based on German law, Germanic law. And the Germanic punishments under Germanic law were handled by Wehrgeld, W-E-R-E-G-I-L-D, Wehrgeld, which means man money. In other words, fines and financial penalties. And know, from that same paragraph, if you could not settle your disputes, you could walk away from your village and become an outlaw. That is outside of the Germanic law. Know about the great German epic called Beowulf, B-E-O-W-U-L-F, the great Germanic saga. Beowulf, B-E-O-W-U-L-F. Okay. All right, moving over several pages to B, agricultural revolution, B, agricultural revolution. Know about two great innovations. Know about agricultural innovations that came about in the Middle Ages. And these included rotating crops, horse collars, and the wheeled plow, the wheeled plow. And know why invention took off during the Middle Ages, and that was because of a lack of cheap human labor, specifically slavery on the scale that the Romans and the Greeks practiced it. Lack of cheap human labor led to inventing things like the horse collar and the windmill. Okay. All right, on page 6 under handicapped, know that if you were a freak or you were severely mentally retarded, you could still earn a living as an entertainer or as a professional fool or court's jester. Know about Pope Gregory I. He should be at the bottom of page 6. Gregory is G-R-E-G-O-R-Y. Pope Gregory I. He was the Pope who created the modern Vatican, the Papal States, and the Holy Roman Church that we know today. Know about the Eastern Roman Empire that survived for 1,000 years after Rome fell, and know that its name means something too complicated to understand, and that is Byzantine, the Byzantine Empire. B-Y-Z-A-N-T-I-N-E, the Byzantine Empire. Byzantine Empire.
Can you repeat what we need to know about it?
Do what?
Can you repeat what we need to know about it?
Yeah, what you need to know about it is that it lasted for 1,000 years after Rome fell, and that its name means something too complicated to understand. When somebody says that something is too Byzantine, they mean it's too complicated, because they rule by diplomacy, conspiracy, backbiting, knifing people in the back, whatever. They rule by conspiracy and diplomacy. Okay, know about the Emperor Justinian, J-U-S-T-I-N-I-A-N, the Emperor Justinian. who tried to rebuild the entire Roman Empire, tried to rebuild the whole Roman Empire. Know that the people of Byzantium could break out into riots over the outcome of a chariot race or over icons. These were cloth pictures. I mean, we worship the same things today, except we do dogs playing poker and Elvis and things like that. Anyway, there were those of Byzantium who believed that you could talk to these and talk to the person the image represented, and there are others who said that's paganism and forget that. On the next page, know who Charlemagne was? Who Charlemagne was? Know that he tried to bring back Europe, and he created an empire that included France and parts of Germany and Italy. Charlemagne. And know that he divided his empire into 350 subdivisions, and these are called counties because each one was ruled by a count, and that's where we get the word county even today. Know about the Vikings. Know about the Vikings or the Northmen. Okay, among the things to know about the Northmen, we get 3 days of our week after them. No, we get 4 days: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We get 4 days of the week from them. We get 20% of our words from their language. I beg your pardon, 25% of our words from the Vikings. And know who their god Thor was. Their god Thor. Their god Thor with his magic hammer. Thor with his magic hammer. All right, moving on to chapter 9. Chapter 9. Know what the difference is between Wedowie and Bedowie. Wedowie, W-E-D-O-E-W-E-E. Wedowie, W-E-D-O-W-E-E, which means people of the city. People of the city. And a Bedowie, B-E-D-O-W-E-E, are the people of the desert. It's from them we get the word Bedouin. We get the word Bedouin. Okay, know about the meteorite that's held in the Mecca, the capital, Mecca, the center of Islam. The meteor there, it's at the Kaaba, C-A-B-A, or Kaaba. It's from where we get the word cabal or conspiracy from, but there's a giant meteor there. All right. Know what the minimum requirement is to be a Muslim. There is but one God, and Muhammad is his preacher. Remember, is his prophet. There is but one God, and Muhammad is his prophet. Know what a jihad is. J-I-H-A-D, a jihad, J-I-H-A-D, and that is a task or a struggle. A task or a struggle. And know that Muhammad and his followers took back Mecca after the Battle of Badr, B-A-D-R, the Battle of Badr, B-A-D-R. Know what the holy book of Islam is? And the holy book of Islam is the Quran. Q-U-R-A-N, Q-U-R-A-N, the Quran. Of the 5 pillars of the Muslim faith, know that during the 9th lunar month Muslims fast, and this is called Ramadan, R-A-M-A-D-A-N, Ramadan. Know about the rock at the Dome of the Rock? Know about the rock at the Dome of the Rock? Know that this is where the end of time will begin, that this is where God created Adam. This is where the Muslims made their last stand in Jerusalem, where Muhammad dreamed that he flew to heaven on a winged horse. And most of all, the answer to the question, know that this is where Isaac nearly sacrificed, let me get this right. Where Abraham tried to sacrifice Isaac, And it was also the site of Solomon's temple. All right, know what Islam teaches us about other religions, and that is to tolerate all religions, but particularly Christians and the Jews, because they are the children of the book, and they got their revelation from God before we got ours. That's what the Quran teaches. Know that the Muslims developed gunpowder and cannons, which allowed them to create the gunpowder kingdoms and to take Constantinople and to turn it into Istanbul. Know what the biggest problem Islam has? The biggest problem Islam has. It has never had a unifying force. It has never had a unifying force. It's never, except for the caliphs. We haven't had a caliph since, I think, 1902. But the Muslim faith has no unifying leader, no unifying force. Okay. Okay, on page 7, know about who the Berbers are. The Berbers are the people of the North African desert, who the Muslims conquered. Genetically, they are among the oldest people on earth, the Berbers. Know about Timbuktu? Which was the greatest city in its time, with the greatest university, and whose king once controlled half of the world's gold and salt supply. Okay. Know that we get our medicine, our science, our business, and our system of historical studies all from the Muslims. They all come from the Muslims. But particularly our medicine, science, history, literature. Know who Omar Khayyam was? Omar Khayyam, one of the greatest poets and writers of all time. O-M-A-R, second word, K-H-A-Y-Y-A-M. K-H-A-Y-Y-A-M. Omar Khayyam, the great poet and writer. Know what the great work of literature of the Muslim people, of the Arab people is? And that is the 1001 Arabian Nights. 1001 Arabian Nights. Know that in traditional Muslim architecture, one thing you cannot do is depict a living thing, because to depict a living thing is a blasphemy against God, since all living things are the face of God. All right, flipping over to chapter 10. Okay. Know that despite the vast emptiness of much of Africa, Africa is the road from Europe to the rest of the world. Africa has always been the road from Europe to the rest of the world. This is actually number 7 on the next page. To America, India, and the Far East. Know what the number 1 export from Africa has always been, and that's people. 12.5 million Africans shipped to America alone as slaves. Okay, I've got this somewhere in here, but I don't know where it is, and I'm not going to look it up. But know that the oldest human remains have been found in Ethiopia. And know that Ethiopia, this should be number 2 on the next page under D, Northeastern Africa. Know that Ethiopia was Jewish, and then it became Christian. It was Jewish, and then it became Christian. And the oldest human remains are number 4 right after that. Number 4 right after that. Okay, in Western Africa, again, know about the great city of Timbuktu. Know that the Songhai, Songhai, and the Mali, Mili, empires grew up on the Niger River, Niger, the Niger River, Niger. All right, let me run over the test real quick here. Make sure I've left nothing else. This god rode his chariot across the sky, causing storms. Of course, that's Thor, the bad boy of Viking mythology. The great Greek medical doctor for whom the oath was named is Hippocrates, Hippocrates. The greatest library in the center of knowledge in the ancient world was Alexandria, part of the museum. Socrates taught his students by endless questioning of any answer to any question. Socrates would make you do your homework because you were privileged to be his student, and then he would make you stand up and defend a question. And the whole time he would rip you a new one, questioning your logic and your common sense and whatever. Then he would make you defend the other side of the coin, and he'd do the same thing to you again. But endless questioning, called the Socratic method, was how Socrates taught his students. The Greeks thought little of non-Greeks, like the Macedonians, and gave them a name for how they sound to the Greeks when they talk. And that is barbarians. The Greeks called foreigners barbarians because to the Greeks they sounded like sheep.
What did you say, that last one?
Do what?
What was the last point you said?
They said that they called foreigners barbarians because to the Greeks barbarians sounded like sheep. That's where we get the word barbarian from, sheep baying. And know that the Roman frescoes found in Pompeii depict predator and prey, rapist and raped. Roman virtue, life, government, and gods were oriented on the family with the father as the head. The family with the father as the head. Roman historical studies were filled with gossip, sex, violence, and politics for justification of Roman ideals.
Can you repeat that one?
Sure. Roman historical studies were filled with gossip, sex, violence, and politics for justification of Roman ideals. Octavian or Caesar Augustus achieved what that lasted from 40 to 200 years? The Pax Romana. The Pax Romana. Swahili is based in Arabic and native dialects. It means coast, and Swahili is Swahili. Swahili is based in Arabic and native dialects. It's the language of the east coast of Africa. St. Augustine preached that the evil Roman Empire existed to create Christianity, and pagan writings before Jesus' time were acceptable. All right, any questions?
What was that last one you said?
Sure. St. Augustine preached that the evil Roman Empire existed to create Christianity, and that pagan writings before Jesus' time were acceptable.